He won 5 consecutive European Cups with Real Madrid. He scored in every single one of those finals. He won the Ballon d'Or twice, the award for the best player on earth. Pelé himself said he was the greatest Argentine player who ever lived. Alfredo Di Stéfano never played a single minute at a World Cup. Not because he wasn't good enough, not because he didn't try, because of a boycott, a FIFA ban, and a muscle injury, 3 separate disasters across 4 separate tournaments across 3 separate national teams. Some of the greatest players in history never got their World Cup, and the reasons why reveal more about the sport than any trophy ever could. Di Stefano's story is the most absurd in football history. Born in Argentina in 1926, he should have played his first World Cup in 1950. Argentina boycotted the tournament over a dispute with the Brazilian Football Confederation. Di Stefano, 24 years old and at the start of his peak, stayed home. 1954. Argentina boycotted again, but this time FIFA added a complication. Di Stéfano had played a handful of unofficial matches for a Colombian club team, and FIFA ruled he was therefore ineligible for Argentina anyway. The door closed twice at the same tournament. He moved to Real Madrid. He became a Spanish citizen. He spent years building toward the 1962 World Cup, helping Spain qualify, at 35 years old, for what would be his final chance. He traveled to Chile with the squad. Then a muscle injury ruled him out before a single game was played. He came home. He never played another international match. 5 European Cup titles, 2 Ballon d'Ors, 3 national teams, 0 World Cup appearances. When asked about it later in life, Di Stéfano was philosophical. He said the ball had given him prestige, fame, and riches, and he was grateful. But the World Cup was the one thing football never gave back. George Best was, by almost universal agreement, the most gifted footballer of his generation. His manager at Manchester United, Matt Busby, called him the greatest player he ever saw. Not one of the greatest, the greatest. Best played for Northern Ireland, a small nation that, in his era, rarely qualified for major tournaments. In his entire international career of 37 caps, Northern Ireland qualified for 1 World Cup, 1982. Best was 36 years old by then, already retired from top-level football, his career consumed by the struggles that had followed him off the pitch. He never played in a World Cup. What makes Best's absence particularly haunting is the gap between what he produced at club level and what international football denied him. He won the European Cup with Manchester United in 1968. He won the Ballon d'Or that same year, the same award Pelé and Eusebio had won in surrounding years. He scored 179 goals for United in 470 appearances. And he spent every World Cup as a spectator. Zlatan Ibrahimović is a different kind of story, because unlike Di Stéfano or Best, Zlatan's World Cup absence was partly his own choice. Sweden's all-time leading scorer with 62 goals in 116 appearances, Zlatan played in 2 World Cups, 2002 and 2006, and scored 0 goals in both. Sweden was eliminated in the round of 16 each time. He retired from international football after Euro 2016. When Sweden qualified for the 2018 World Cup without him, Zlatan watched from Los Angeles, where he was playing for the LA Galaxy at 36 years old. Asked if it was hard to watch his teammates compete without him, his response was vintage Zlatan. In the beginning, the first games were different because I felt I can do it much better than them, obviously, and I still do. Sweden reached the round of 16 without him. Years earlier, Zlatan had made his most famous statement about the tournament. He said, "A World Cup without Zlatan isn't worth watching." He was wrong, and he probably knew it. The World Cup is always worth watching. What it needed from Zlatan, a goal, a deep run, a defining moment on the biggest stage, it never got. And so the greatest Swedish player of all time leaves football history with 2 World Cup exits in the first knockout round and one of the most recognizable names in the sport attached to 0 World Cup goals. Di Stéfano, Best, Zlatan. 3 completely different careers, 3 completely different reasons: politics, circumstance, timing, but the same result. The World Cup is the only stage in football that cannot be replaced by anything else. Club trophies don't fill it. Individual awards don't fill it. Even those who have won everything else seem to know, somewhere, that the gap exists. That is what makes the tournament what it is. Not just the players who lift the trophy, but the ones who spent their entire careers trying to get there and never did. Subscribe. Final episode: how the 2026 World Cup, happening right now across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, could permanently change American sports forever.